Hello, my name is Colleen Clark-Sutton, and this is monologue number 4, Can't Let It Go, for Sociology 5230 with Dr. Lori Dowds, Foundations of Disability Studies at University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. The title of my monologue is Defending Helen Keller. Helen Keller was well known, especially right before she died. The Miracle Worker was a biographical movie about her life that was produced in 1962, and she died in 1968. I was 4 years old the year that she died. So I don't remember when I actually saw the movie, The Miracle Worker, but I do remember my friends and I were enthralled by her life and the life of Anne Sullivan. Learning about Anne Sullivan was part of why I wanted to grow up to be a teacher. I graduated through different reading levels at the local library, reading every biography about Helen Keller that they had. She was amazing. She was smart, focused, kind, hardworking, determined, the ultimate American dream heroine. I wanted to be just like her, successful and respected. She was an inspiration to me. I came of age during the 1970s, women's rights, Title IX, affirmative action, the idea that women could do anything that men could do, and more. That Helen Keller had done so many professional activities when this wasn't considered normal for women was very moving for me. If she could battle the sexism while being deaf and blind, I certainly could take on the world and succeed. Reaching the end of the Foundations of Disability Studies course, I am reviewing my image of Helen Keller and what I was taught. Dr. Dowd's comment through the Perusal reader for week 10 about Helen Keller being a eugenicist sent me on a search for more and new information. I did know that her deafness and blindness were the result of her illness as a pre-toddler. I'm finding there's a lot about Helen Keller I didn't know. I had no idea what her political opinions were. I knew she was a writer and speaker, but I'd actually never read her works. I probably just put my worldviews, such as they were as an 8 to 12-year-old, onto her. I loved the United States, so she must love the United States. She was a nice person with beautiful quotes. I'm a nice person. We would get along. She was smart and well-traveled. I wanted to be smart and well-traveled. In my child's mind, there were 3 reasons she never married. First, many men were just stupid and didn't take the time to meet and wouldn't take the time to meet and fall in love with a strong, independent, handicapped woman. Second, she didn't have time for marriage. She was busy publishing and speaking and traveling. If she had married, she would have had a completely different life and it wouldn't have been nearly as interesting. And third, she had Anne Sullivan, and I couldn't quite figure out how that would have even worked anyway. I know Anne Sullivan got married herself. I always thought that was a little odd and couldn't figure out how that worked. But anyway, it's disappointing to learn that Helen Keller was likely a eugenicist, at least for a portion of her life. It sheds a different light on the fact that she never married or had children. Perhaps she saw this as her own personal contribution to the betterment of society. Perhaps she was pushed into not being married by her mother or by Anne Sullivan. As a product of the culture of the time, it is reasonable to conclude that she worried about the vitality of future generations. Even though her disabilities were the result of childhood illness, there were probably rumor mills that spread the incomplete and inaccurate information about whether or not future offspring could carry the germs that would lead to similar illnesses ending in similar physical disabilities or worse. There is no evidence that she advocated for the isolation and murder of people with disabilities. She was a champion of workers' rights, lending her stature and reputation to the labor movement, seeking to increase safety at work sites and provide compensation for injured workers. She was also an advocate for equal rights and opportunities for Black Americans and women in the United States. She was a member of the NAACP, and she tried to use her social capital to speak against lynchings and other atrocious behavior inflicted upon African Americans. She was a founding member of the ACLU, whose primary focus has always been to extend the Bill of Rights protections to all U.S. citizens and residents. She was also public about her political position as a socialist, believing people and government have an obligation to provide a safety net for its citizens. Georgina Klege's Blind Rage letter fascinated me. Klege and I have similar impressions and admirations of Helen Keller. I enjoyed reading someone else write about how marvelous Helen Keller was. My fascination came with a modern professional woman who was blind, comparing herself to Helen Keller and wondering how there are no diary entries of disappointment, frustration, or anger. I'd never thought about it, but Klege is right. Except for the childhood years before she meets Anne Sullivan, the Helen that we know from history books and biographies and photos is that she's practically perfect. Klege is also correct that if Helen Keller had complained about her life, the consequences could have been severe for her. Heck, complaining from any successful person from a marginalized group does not play well in local news, and it does not read well in history books. This makes me think of the Obama family living in the White House. They had to be practically perfect all the time. My cumulative can't let it go thoughts and feelings from this course and other courses in the Matrix program are that I want to be a bit more like Helen Keller, hardworking with a can-do attitude while working on making the world a better place for all of us. My sources for this included a Time magazine article, rewatching parts of The Miracle Worker and reading comments related to the movie, as well as assignments from this course and details from the Perkins School for the Blind website. Thank you.